Hey, welcome to today's lesson on pages 3.5 to 3.6 for the math strategies. So on page 3.5, here we're talking about functions and graphs of functions. So 3 examples we'll go through. The key thing to remember for functions is that when you have f of x equals something, that's always going to be your input, and whatever's on the other side of the equation will be your output. So for example, if f of x equals x squared plus 4, and you're asked to find f of 1, then clearly 1 is your input. So if you were to work that out, you get 1 squared plus 4, and you get 5. So just think of functions as you're given an input, find the output, or you could be given an output, find the input. So let's look at this one here. F of x equals x squared minus 7x plus 10. So we're working on number 35 here. F of t plus 1 equals 0. What is one possible value of t? Okay, so that's your input. Your input is going to be t plus 1. And your output is 0. And that's the equation we're dealing with. So if I replace x with t plus 1, that means that on the other side of the equation, when we have x squared, it'll be t plus 1 squared. When we have 7x, it'll be 7 times t plus 1. And of course, 10 is just still 10. And remember, you're told that f of t plus 1 equals 0, so your output has to be 0. So by plugging in t plus 1 for x, so x is gone, you replace it with t plus 1, and again, f of t plus 1 equals 0. So you see that connection I make here. So you work this out, you get t squared plus 2t plus 1 minus 7t minus 7 plus 10. So 0 equals t squared minus 5t. And you want to be a bit careful here, that's plus 4. You could factor it. T minus 1, t minus 4, so t equals 1 or 4. And the College Board would accept either answer. Let's look at number 28. Rita's dog weighed 5 pounds when she bought it. Over the next several years, the dog's weight increased by 10% per year. Which of the following? Remember, we see those words again? So we know to go through process of elimination. Which of the following gives a weight W in pounds of the dog after n years of weight gain at this rate? Okay, so here's what I would do. Because you see letters, let's assume that n equals 2. So it weighs 5 pounds right now, and that's to increase 10% per year. So if you think about it, 5 times 0.1 is 0.5. So after 1 year, the dog weighs 5.5 pounds. And then if you take 10% again, you get 0.55. Remember, I got to do 10% after the first year. So you're doing 10% of the current amount. So then you get 6.05 pounds. So when n equals 2, we're supposed to get 6.05 pounds. So if you think about it, even though doing a function notation, I'm still using the plugging in or the substitution strategy because we see letters. So you also use substitution strategy. So you see how things are kind of building upon itself. So I saw letters, I plugged in. Now I'm going to go through process of elimination. If I plug in 2 into A, I get 5 plus 0.1 times 2, which is 5.2. That doesn't get me 6.05. If I plug in 2 into B for n, I get 0.5, that's out. If I plug in for C, I get 5 times 0.81, which would be, if you use a calculator, I think 4.05, that's out. D would look like a winner to us. If you work that out, you would get 6.05. E would not, so the answer has to be D. So we use function notation because we're replacing n with 2, but we're also using process elimination and the substitution strategy at the same time. And the last one, number 18. You're given a graph that say v equals f of t. Don't let that kind of fool you, because they say that t comma v is a point on the graph. So t is like x, and v is like y. So if t is between 0 and 5, that means that x is in between 0 and 5. So according to the graph, here's x equals 0, here's x equals 5. So this is the portion of the graph we're interested in, because that's the only part of the graph that's x values between 0 and 5. Like this part's no good, because the x values are obviously greater than 5. This part's no good, because the x values are less than 0. Remember, the x values have to be between 0 and 5. So which of the following must be true? Again, process elimination. Well, look at all the choices. All of them have v in the middle, the y-coordinate. So an x between 0 and 5 is y between -10 and -5. Well, clearly, y is going to be between 5 and 10, when x is between 0 and 5 according to the graph. So that logically leads me to D as the correct answer for that one. Obviously we'll have a chance to work on this when we see each other again. We'll do some more practice with these kind of problems. Let's look at averages. Then we can end this video. Now remember, the average of anything is the sum of values, meaning when you add up all the numbers that are out there, divide by a number of values, when you divide by all the, or you divide by a number of things that are out there. So for example, if you want to find an average test score for a class, you would add up all the test scores and then divide by a number of students. So let's look at number 4. A plus B is 250. The average. So A plus B over 2 equals 250. So clearly A plus B has to be 500. That's easy. And I don't know why it says F, G, H, I, J. It should be A, B, C, D, E, but whatever. This next one says that M represents the median, F represents the temperature that occurs most often, and A represents the average. And here we have 7 temperatures. Well, the median, remember, is the middle number. So it's a type of average, but it's always the middle number. This is when all numbers are ranked in order or listed in order. So in this case, if I rearrange these numbers, 66, 69, 70, 75, 77, 78, 78. So clearly my median is 75. The number shows the most often, obviously 78. The average is requires a bit of work, but you have to add up all these numbers and divide by 7. If you work that out, I think you get 73.28. So clearly the ranking should be A is less, M is in the middle, and F is going to be the highest. So the answer is A. And again, use the words which are the following, so we go through process elimination. That's the only one that works. And then we got a challenging one here, number 38. The average of test scores of a class of P students is 70. The average of test scores of a class of N students is 92. When the scores of both classes are combined, the average score is 86. What is the value of P divided by N? Okay. So here's what we do. Average equals sum of values divided by number of values. It never escapes us, that core concept of average. So for the first class, you told the average is 70. You don't know what the scores add up to, but you do know there's P students. And for the other class, you know the average is 92. You don't know what the sum is. And I'll put a a little accent mark there to kind of distinguish that sum from the other sum, and divide by n. And the total average is 86. Well, the total average would be the sum of both classes divided by all the students. That has to equal 86. So if you think about it, you can actually isolate the sum for the classes individually and then substitute. And now we're asked to find p over n. We can't find p and n separately, but we can play around with this equation by cross multiplying and then combine like terms. It requires a bit of craftiness, which explains why this would be near the end. So if you combine like terms, you get 6n equals 16p. And then if you divide both sides by n and divide both sides by 16, p over n equals 6 over 16, which would be accepted as a correct answer, or you could reduce it down to 3/8. So that covers averages and functions, which are two pretty important concepts on the SAT math section. And again, when we see each other again, we'll do some practice so you guys understand how these strategies work, and then hopefully can demonstrate mastery of this over the next couple weeks. Okay, sounds good. I will see you later.